Oh, I think I am live, aren't I? I'm on the main stage. I'm still learning the platform here. Let's just see. Am I on YouTube? Are we live? Yeah, here we are. Thanks, folks, for joining us for Fedora Week of Diversity. We are just about to get started here with the opening remarks, so hang tight with us in a little bit, and we will get going here in just a couple of moments. While you're here waiting, you can also follow along. We'll have this in two places you can follow. We'll be on the YouTube channel for Fedora, where you can catch the live stream. So some people you can also watch from the Matrix room. Some of you might be seeing the live stream video from inside the Matrix room, or you can open it up in YouTube and follow along with the event chat on Matrix. So we got a couple of things to kick off with for our opening remarks. We're going to have our organizers here come up into the main stage in a little bit. But while you're waiting, there's also been some polls in the chat. If you want to take a look at the event chat and let us know, what device are you joining from and from what continent are you joining us from for Fedora Week of Diversity. So we've got a couple of polls there in the chat. And I think is there still an echo there? I think we've gotten that fixed. All right. So just give us another couple of minutes here, and we will get started with the opening remarks.
Hello. All right, let's go ahead and get started here. Managing this all on one screen is a little tricky, not gonna lie. Let's go ahead and bring Yona up here. Hello, Yona.
Hello.
All right, this here, we'll go full screen. So welcome everyone to Fedora Week of Diversity 2024. We're super glad to have you all here and kick off this really historic event in the Fedora community. We've had the FWD event for quite some time, but this current evolution of Week of Diversity has been really amazing to see. And I'm super grateful to be here with all of you, as long with Yona, who is also going to co-host today. So welcome to the Fedora Week of Diversity celebration. So we'll do a quick introduction of your hosts before we'll get started with the main agenda for today. Yona?
Can everyone hear us, by the way? If you can write us on the chat, if you can hear us both, because we are using the same mic.
Oh, and then someone's saying the ticker tape.
Frozen. Okay. Okay, so hi everyone. I'm Yona. I'm the current DI advisor. So basically being as a bridge between the council team and the Fedora DI team, bringing topics that both teams can collaborate together. I've been part of the community for quite some time now. I started in 2015 and still being part of the DI team specifically, which is the one that I contribute most and focused on the mentoring topic as well. And Justin?
Yeah. So hi, my name is Justin. I am an open source contributor and free culture advocate from the US. I've been involved in Fedora since 2015, and I joined Red Hat as the Fedora community architect in October 2022. You can find me online both through Matrix, my Matrix ID, or you can find me on Mastodon as well. All right. So a quick reminder, important things first. We have a code of conduct in Fedora. You can find it here. We'll make sure to share a link to that in the chat as well. Code of conduct is really important to us in the Fedora community. Helps provide some guidelines and guidance on what is acceptable, unacceptable behavior in Fedora. All of our community spaces are governed by the code of conduct. So if you need to access that or review it, you can also find it here in our project documentation, but also a important thing to remember about as we go into the event. So as we get started with talking about Week of Diversity, we've got a really interesting story about how we got to this place and what all has gone into actually getting to this point over the many years. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and transition over to Yona to talk a little bit more about the history of the event.
If you can go to the next slide, please.
Yes.
Okay, so first of all, who organizes that? Fedora Week of Diversity or Fedora also Women's Day that we'll mention a bit later as well, started from the Diversity, Equity and Inclusion team, which in the beginning it was Fedora Diversity team actually. Then we changed it to Fedora Diversity and Inclusion, and now we are the DI team. But basically, this team has always worked on organizing Fedora Week of Diversity. And usually, not only people that are part of the team, basically anyone can join, but usually this is the team that makes sure that we organize the event and we bring some nice content and helpful content for the community and highlight different people that are part of the community to say thank you for their contributions. And as I said, basically the event is aimed at the whole Fedora community, basically highlighting what they do, what kind of skills they bring in the community, how they joined, and inspiring others as well. Next, please. So in the beginning, it was Fedora Women's Day.
we were a bit more focused on women, or highlighting more women's and non-binary contributors' contributions that they were doing in our community, and empowering them a bit more. It used to be also basically local events that they were happening in different cities, countries. And if you check also the link that we have added there, which we will put it also in the chat, it's some of the Fedora Women's Day event that we did, for example, in 2017, in different places. And we did that for quite some time, but then we wanted to expand it a bit more, so focus not only on women, because we have different groups that are part of the community that are underrepresented, so we wanted to give also to them some space. Plus, also with COVID happening, of course, this was not something that we could do just locally, so we had to do something a bit more broad, more general, that we could host it basically online and everyone could join. The next. So basically we transitioned to Fedora Week of Diversity instead. And some of the past events we have done are, so in 2021, we did basically we worked on having some Fedora stories. As part of Flog, we had a session where everyone could join and they could share their Fedora journey or their open source journey, how they started, who was their mentor, who inspired them to be part of the community, and why they're still part of the community, what still keeps them there. So it was like different stories that we captured at Flog, and then during Fedora Week of Diversity, we were publishing them online, and so other people could also watch and check why people like being part of the Fedora community. Then in 2022, so in 2022, it was a virtual event that we did. So basically, because every year we also try to do different formats to see which one works best. So in 2022, we had like different talks or panel discussion as well. We invited different communities also joining us, so we could get some other perspectives, how they were doing DI in their community, and what we could bring to our community or exchanging these experiences. And in 2023, last year, instead of actually organizing Fedora Week of Diversity, we put an effort on organizing Fedora Appreciation Week and starting the work for Fedora Week of Diversity for this year. And Fedora Appreciation Week, it's kind of similar with the Fedora Week of Diversity, but there is a difference. So we want to highlight, or basically to spread that gratitude spirit in the community and say thank you to the contributors. So it was contributors saying thank you to another person in the community for the work that they are doing. Even like small things, like they could give also karma cookies, they could write a story, they could post on social to say thank you. So any kind of way that they wanted to do it to basically appreciate other people in the community. While for this year, what was different, basically our team worked on creating content for 1 week long event. And I say 1 week because Fedora Week of Diversity itself started on Monday and it will end tomorrow. So during the whole week, basically we worked on first spotting like different community members that we wanted to highlight now their contributions and say thank you. And we did a couple of interviews with them, which probably you should have seen on community blog already, some of these stories. If not, I would definitely suggest you to check it out. And every basically day, also today will be, or they are already published 2 other interviews and will be 1 more tomorrow. And also part of it is this virtual event, which is happening today with different talks, panel discussion, and also social activity. Next. So for this year, as I mentioned, the interviews that they have been already posted on community blog. We will have 1 more tomorrow. We are doing the event on Matrix. And we are using Matrix especially for also the Q&A part to network a bit with each other and so on. But you can watch the live stream there directly, or you can also do that on YouTube, which will also help us to put the registration later and so on. So why it's important for us to organize it, why we still keep doing that. So it's very, very important for us to have basically a chance to highlight these different contributions that people make in our community, to appreciate the work that they are bringing, because everyone makes Fedora what it is, basically. And that's why in our 4 foundation, I think the friends part, it's like really important, and one of the main reasons why people are still part of this community. And to also encourage contributors across different areas in Fedora, so they can also collaborate with each other and work towards their goals and everything, and also to inspire new people that they are just starting their FOSS journey, what they could do as part of the community, or how other people are feeling in our community. So basically this time we use it as a way to all come together and bring our diverse voices, perspectives, skills, and so on to our community.
And I'll just add on to that too, is like one thing that's really special, like you spend some time in the Fedora community and you realize that we are this global community of people spread out all over the world. And, you know, it's great we can get together in person and celebrate at events and, you know, have that in-person time, but at the same time, in a global community like Fedora, where we have people across all ends of the planet and all different time zones and places of the world, events like this are really important for us to, you know, come together as a community and also celebrate some of those amazing things that make up the Fedora community and all the different backgrounds and cultures and experiences that we come from, and ultimately also bring into the project. That's a big part of what makes Fedora what it is. You know, the Friends Foundation really is a critical part of everything that we do in Fedora. And, you know, it's more than just creating a Linux distribution, but we also really enjoy the people that we do all of these things, do all of this work with together. And it's important that we make space to celebrate that too, when we're not all busy trying to release a new operating system every 6 months too. So I can talk a little bit more about how this connects into the Fedora strategy. Some of you might have heard a little bit about this in the community, but I want to talk a little bit about the Fedora strategy and how something like this event ties into it, and why you'll probably be seeing more things about the Fedora strategy in the coming months and years. So Fedora, for the last little while, has been building a strategy for where we want to take the project by 2028. You know, thinking about like, oh, in 5 years' time, where do we want to be as a project in a community? So there's different focus areas that are a part of that initiative or a part of the strategy. And if you followed some of Matthew Miller's community blog posts and some of the conversation on Fedora discussion, you'll have seen some of these topics come up. So just to call out from the Fedora strategy, there's 2 of these focus areas that are really big parts of what we're trying to do. And ultimately, you know, I think it's important that all of the goal of our Fedora strategy is what we call guiding star, or the main purpose of the strategy is to double the number of contributors active each week by 2028. So really trying to grow our contributor community and bring more people into the project. So these kind of things tie in a lot to that. You know, reaching the world, we have a specific think I am back here. So sometimes the unexpected happens and you lose power in the middle of the stream. I think, let's see, are we back online here? I'm getting some signals from Restream. Let's just see, are we all? If I can get a thumbs up in the chat if this is online. I just want to see if anyone else is able to see. Is it just me? Okay, back now. Great. So sometimes the unexpected happens. Sometimes you lose power right in the middle of the opening remarks. So I'm going to have to slide through this really quick because we do have our next speakers, but we really did want to emphasize a huge thank you to the folks who have been involved with organizing this. It's really been a community effort, and without all of you helping make this all possible, we wouldn't be able to do it. So a huge thank you to all of our volunteers and folks who have been helping make this an awesome event for this year. Also a huge thank you to all of our speakers. We have a really amazing lineup of speakers who you'll get to hear from today, and we'll make sure that we have time to introduce them. You can also find the schedule is on Pre-Talks, where if you've seen the CFP, you can also find the full schedule of what we'll be talking about and who will be coming up on stage on Pre-Talks. We also have some opportunities to volunteer if you like these kind of events, and this is something that's interesting to you. We're getting ready to organize a mentor summit at Fedora Flock in August, and our in-person contributor event as well. So if you're interested in that, there's an opportunity for you to get involved and volunteer with our next major event. I'll do a highlight really quick on some socials. At the end of today, we're going to have some time to do a code names game. If you've never played code names, it's a social word game where you have to try to guess certain words in a competitive team play game. AV will be required. We'll have some opportunity. We'll share a little bit more later in the event about how you can join and participate with code names. So keep an eye out for that towards the end. Also, we're going to highlight, hey, if you want to grab some Fedora swag, you can work with one of our awesome swag vendors, Hello Tux, a small vendor based, I believe, in Hungary, if I'm not mistaken. But they do really nice embroidered swag. You can see some of the items that they have in their store here. And I'll tell you a little secret. If you use the code Fedora5, the number 5, you will get a 5% discount off of some of their items in the store. So thank you, folks, for another amazing release. We're just coming out of the Fedora 40 release a couple months ago. Thank you all for being a part of our wonderful, amazing Fedora community. Also wanted to highlight, too, a really awesome thing that's happening in the community is the Accessibility Test Week. We've been doing a lot of great work with the Accessibility Working Group, and just wanted to highlight that we have an opportunity to get involved and contribute right now with some of these accessibility technologies in Fedora. So if you're interested in learning more about that, there was an article on the Fedora magazine. We'll post a little bit more in the chat as well, so you can keep an eye on that. We'll hope to have a little bit more time to talk about this, but unexpected power outage. Maybe have power back, maybe not. We'll see. But now let's start the celebration, and let's go ahead and bring our next speakers up onto the stage. All right, so let's see. Coming back to Restream here, I'm going to turn off my screen share, and let's go ahead and bring up our next speakers. All right, Apurva and Rajan, are you both here? Hello.
Hey,
Oh, I've got too much audio. How about now? Can I hear you now? Are you audible?
hello. Are we audible?
Screen share. There's a delay
Are
on
you
my
audible?
side. Man, what a fun time to lose power right when you're trying to run an event. Okay, how about now? Can you all hear me? Can I hear you?
Yeah, we can hear you all the time, but are we audible?
Perfect. All right, well,
Okay.
I'm going to jump
Yeah.
off the stage here and hand it over to both of you for your session here at Fedora Week of Diversity. Thank you so much, Apurva and Rajan.
How about now? Are we
Your
audible?
your audio is off.
No, this is off.
Okay. Are we audible? We are trying to look at the chat. I'm not sure if we are audible or not. Can't hear a thing. Okay. I don't know what's the problem. We have our mics unmuted. Yes, yes, yes. I assume this is for finally audible.
Okay, so should we be starting from the introduction again?
Yes. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. So this topic we came up and we chose adding and focusing about the DI specific one because both of us are part of DI group. And the other reason to add about this as a CFP was to promote and demonstrate a commitment how to foster a more inclusive, equitable, and innovative business environment. In today's session, we would be going through this particular points. So let's start with the introduction. Hello, my name is Apurva Bhide and I am a senior technical writer in Red Hat, focusing on RHEL storage documentation. And I'm here since last 7 years, and I joined this company as an intern. Over to you, Raju.
Thank you. Hi all, I'm Rajan Shah. I am a manager in software engineering of partner ecosystem engineering in Red Hat's division, which takes care of the partner certifications globally. And I have been with Red Hat for almost 3 years now, with an overall industry experience of 10 plus years. And we both are part of the DEI communities in Red Hat in India, as well as I'm part of some of the other communities as well, at local sites, at open source OSPO, and a lot of those communities in bits and pieces. So that's why we are here. And with that, over to you.
Let's start with the bigger picture where we would be discussing about the basics of DI and some issues if we are not implementing it. So let's understand some basic definition of DI. So what is diversity? It focuses on presence of differences within a group such as age, race, gender, and other characteristics. It brings wide range of perspectives, experiences, and ideas which enhances creativity, problem solving, and decision making. Equity, where it ensures fair treatment, opportunities, and outcomes for everyone by addressing and removing barriers. It addresses inequalities and provides everyone with the tools and resources one need to succeed. And the last one, which is the inclusion, which focuses on creating a safe environment where all people feel valued and have a sense of belonging. It promotes engagement, collaboration, which enhances overall organizational culture and performance. So, together, DEI initiatives aim to create workplace and communities that are not only diverse but also equitable, inclusive, where all individuals can thrive and contribute to their fullest potential. Next slide. But what happens if we ignore DI? You will definitely see unequal opportunities due to bias and barriers. Without diverse perspectives, there will be lack in motivation, definitely limited talent pool by overlooking diverse candidates, low morale due to exclusion or undervalue. There would be conflicts due to misunderstandings, compliance issues when we fail to implement DI principles, and the most important, we fail to fulfill requirements of diverse customer needs without having any diverse stakeholders. Next slide. But is this a solution where you just get a seat at a table? No, it's not the solution. It's nothing but known as a tokenism, which only involves superficial efforts to only include someone, where you are including members of underrepresented groups without offering any meaningful integration or influence. There is also a relation between tokenism and benevolent sexism, where environment where women or minorities are excluded despite being capable, which results in lack of respect and exclusion. It's a belief that women are inferior to men or not ready to accept that women can be in the position of power. It also somewhere leads to offering women or minorities protection or just praise them to reinforce some stereotypes. This is all about benevolent sexism and its relation with tokenism. Now let's see the bigger picture of Red Hat, how and what we do with, to avoid these issues. Over to you, Rajan.
Thank you. I'm trying to look for my cursor for the next slide. Sorry for that. Okay. And hopefully we are here. Okay. Just a quick check. Are we audible? Everything good? Even one yes would be good in case we get any. Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. So we'll try to go a little bit deeper into what's Red Hat's picture. How does Red Hat play an important role to take care of whatever Apurva tried to share in terms of DAI principles, the each separate pieces of DE and I, and as well as what happens if we don't do, and to do that, what do we do? Okay, so to dive into that, what we do at Red Hat is that we have three different pillars that we try to have. That is like diversity in workforce. We have workplace inclusion that is there, as well as marketplace leadership. And as a global inclusive organization, how we establish that is that we ensure that we have measurable outcomes of equity and inclusion. We have various metrics for that. We make sure about the different policies that are introduced, different vendors that we choose, different hiring that we do, the interview panel that we set, the interviewees that we prefer to have as a part of Red Hat's workforce. All of these pictures are all of these metrics are various ways for us to see how outcome for us is measurable, and how do we make sure that we don't just say but we actually are able to perform and move forward in that. Then we have various resources available, various tools available, various consultancy available with different teams, collaboration opportunities available. We have accessibility available in forms of physical accessibility, digital accessibility. We have linguistic accessibility as well. And also we make sure that everyone in the data across the globe, whatever region they are, whatever domain they are, whatever diversity areas they are into, in any form, okay, we have the cultural inclusivity also. So we make sure that we have all this type of accessibility available, and we keep on doing sessions around that. We keep on doing awareness around that thing, so that even though that as a company we have this goal to set, and we are going through that, but people are aware about that, the associates are aware about that. We keep on spreading the same thing, so that the good thing about DEI, the reason why we should not do, and what is the benefit of that, all of those things is spread more wide and wide, and we get more positive and successful business results. And the last piece in terms of pillar is that we make sure that we are creating DEI competencies. We are partnering with the businesses in terms of like what Apurva tried to mention. We try to avoid tokenism. Okay, we do not have benevolent sexism or even hostile one. That we don't feel that okay, any gender, any particular group is not capable in terms of sympathy or in terms of aggression. That okay, that person is not capable. No, we try to avoid those things, and there are competencies that are set for that. So this is how we try to stick with our motto that we believe in inclusion that drives collaboration as well as innovation. So this is how Red Hat tries to implement things in terms of DI pillars, DI principles, and these are some of the examples that we have. There are many different use cases that we try to build in terms of customer examples. Like we have many different region of partners and customers who have any issues, any complaints, any cases going around, all of those things being raised for, let's say, a particular region, but we do not block them that you will get support only during that particular region because there is some specific linguistic barrier that is there. We don't do that. We try to help them 24/7. We try to have a global support to them based on whatever is the criteria, and whenever required we do collaboration with the inclusivity, so that we make sure that the partner as well as the customer also success, and that helps us to build a proper successful story. Even in teams, for us, if we talk, so we try to make inclusivity a factor because that helps to have diverse perspective, diverse groups, diverse mindset into the businesses, and whatever decision we take care of, whatever product we are trying to develop, we make sure that is developed in taking consideration of all of these factors. To drive all of this strategies, all of the principles, all of the implementation steps, and all of the use cases and examples I tried to share, we have various communities that are formed under that. Okay, so we have the WLC, that is Women Leadership Council, the committee that is a global committee that we have, and the word indicates it's a women leadership community, but that is not a necessity. We have allyship with different genders as well in that. Then we have the build community, we have diverse abilities community, we have MND community as well. Then we have veterans, native communities, we have Asian network, we have pride community, and the Unitas community. So these are the various communities of Red Hat that we have established. We have people who are actively participating in this. We have people who are there to make sure all of this community also integrates into each other's strategy, principles, and the metrics. And also we try to collaborate and take decisions and advise the different engineering groups, sales group, support group, everyone with all of these principles. So this is how we try to take care from Red Hat side about this implementation, and that's something very close to us, and particularly for both of us, that's why we are here to share some awareness around this. So with that, I give it back to Apurva to summarize whatever we have discussed, and what was our purpose to be here, and what we wanted to make sure that it is part of the Fedora Week of Diversity, because that's something very close to us as a Red, as well as the Fedora community as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajan. Yeah, to summarize the points which we discussed, we started with the questions of what is diversity, why we have to implement it, and its importance. And then we followed it, how we are integrating it with Red Hat's DI picture by focusing on the communities. And definitely the last point is about how business strategies and driving values from DI implementation can foster an inclusive, equitable, and innovative workplace, as well as enhance overall business performance and culture, and definitely the community empowerment in Red Hat. As you have seen those communities, we get a very good support, and I guess we both of us would love to continue working on this and also encourage other to be part of it. So that's what we wanted to convey from today's presentation. Anything else, Rajan, you want to add?
No, I think so. You did summarize it very well. We'll open up for Q&A in case there are any pre-submitted questions, or in case anyone wants to type any questions right now. In case anyone wants to know anything in particular about what all we discussed, we are happy to answer whatever we know. If you don't know, we'll try to get back to the community by getting some more answers. So, but please feel free to ask any questions we have. There's one, I think, in the chat. Questions here. Okay. I'm trying to look at the section in the chat wherein Andrea, you have opened Andrea and has opened a thread. I'm not sure if we are supposed to look anywhere else also for any Q&A, but in case someone can unmute or share if we are missing something, it would be good to know. Okay, I believe there are no questions. So thank you for listening to us, and hope we were clear in terms of audio, in terms of what we wanted to present, what we wanted to share as an awareness, and what we do at that. And happy to collaborate with whoever is online, whoever is listening to us. You can reach out to us. The organizers would have our details, so I hope they will share with everyone. So reach out to us. We can collaborate. We can discuss offline in community as well. We can chat anytime. Reach out to us on LinkedIn as well. So please feel free to contact us anytime. And thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Over to you. Thank you. I'm not sure who are we supposed to pass it on. Amita, to you maybe?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
perfect.
but am I audible? Okay,
Yes, you are to us. Yes. I will stop my
perfect.
sharing. Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much. So the next one speaker we have, uh, and the topic is breaking down barriers, navigating the challenges of joining and contributing to Fedora community as diverse individual. Do we have the speaker online, please?
Hello,
Hi, Mohammed Reza. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. May I start?
Yeah, you are perfectly audible to me. I hope it is audible to rest of the audience as well. Let me just quickly check.
Okay.
Are we audible, everybody? Can you please type yes or no in the chat?
Is the
Emma or
chat in
Yona?
Matrix or in YouTube?
It's on, it's on metrics. We are perfectly. I got the response and acknowledgement that we are live and people can hear us. So all the very best for your talk, and I'm sure you're going to share some insights with us, and people will be motivated to join Fedora as diverse leaders
I
and
hope so.
diverse contributors. Stage, yeah, stage is all yours. Please go ahead.
Hello. First of all, let me introduce. My name is Mohammad Reza Hendiani. I'm Ram. You don't know me. I'm not particularly famous or anything. I've been around the Fedora community for over a year at this point, and I got involved well after university. My bachelor's in computer science, but I wasn't particularly fond of Linux as a whole during universities. But that's a different talk altogether. And the what I'm here to share to you is the reason that it took me over a year to join the Fedora community, even though I was involved in it for this long. Well, the thing that makes it so complicated for most people, not even for people, this just in general, is that it's over complicated or over documented or not at all. For example, if you want to join the packaging SIG, for example, you can't just go, okay, I signed up in the Fedora portal. I have a single sign-on. Now I can go inside the matrix. Okay, now I can't SIG. How do I join SIG? Okay, find their email and go to the mailing list or go to Discourse and go into their matrix channel and see how they do things. It's good to have a diversified environment which each group can work independent of one another. However, being too distributed only causes confusion. And I feel like at this point, we are far from making it easy. Each time I see one of these talks, they don't actually address any of the issues. The last one I saw was a useful chart that came out of it, that, okay, this is how you join. But as for me, I couldn't understand how the chart worked. Maybe I'm not smart enough. I don't know, but I couldn't figure it out. It wasn't clear. It showed the general path, but not exactly the information I wanted to know. So I'm here to share that. If you want to join, unfortunately, the only way is to ask. It's not something that's overly documented, because the primary people that do stuff around here are developers, and developers hate documentation. Let's just be honest with ourselves. We all do. And the thing is that when it's not simply documented, most people won't go after it. When it's overly complicated, the developers and the persistent type personalities put it off and say, okay, I'll get to that later. I, for one, had like 20 tabs at one point, just how to join it. I've tried 4 different times over a span of a year to join. I couldn't figure it out. I mean, I couldn't. I went first, no, this wasn't my first, it was my third or second attempt. I tried to join the marketing SIG, for example. And the requirement that they told me was requirement. And the last attempt that I did was in the AI SIG. I am sort of a member, though you won't find my name in this group. I'm added yet, so I haven't looked into it. Because the group actually is more of a packaging SIG, so I became a packager instead. Right now, I'm working on the Llama CCP and Whisper CCP packages with Tom Riggs, which is the person that got me involved in the Fedora community. Shout out to Tom of Red Hat. He works on the Rockham stuff and the PyTorch stuff, which is incredible. I won't go into it. It's very complicated. I won't even attempt to, let's say, I understand half the things he does. But while on that note, if you want to join, please shout out. We are very understaffed over there. We need some help. So if you can help, it's appreciated. Just go into the matrix and say, hey, I want to help. And people are kind. The thing is, a lot of people have this perception that, okay, if I go and talk and if I go and ask, they're just going to say, go read the manual or do the, yeah, people will do that. I'll be honest, some people have done that to me, and I go and read it sometimes. I just don't have the time for this. Then I go try another group, a less complicated group, a less popular group. And try my luck there. If you do something like that, oh, I think mine's connected.
Am I audible? Okay, perfect. So I think Mohammad Raza got disconnected. Meanwhile,
I can see there is a question about as a new person to the community. It has been really confusing. From every SIG has a different process and working group and team has a different process. The wiki and the doc can be outdated and contradicting. I would first of all like to acknowledge that there is some kind of hurdles to join the community. Uh, the one which has been mentioned. But at the same time, if you dig a little deeper and think any, like Mohammad Raza was telling, that if you ping people, you will get the help very readily. And Mohammad Raza is back with us and he can answer this question more appropriately. But you
Sorry,
can go with the flow
Imran,
and
like
then
I
I can
said,
ask you.
the internet isn't very
That's
great here.
okay,
I
that's
can't
totally fine.
really help.
Happens all the time. So please go ahead and continue with your presentation and I can repeat the question at the end. Please go ahead.
And because I didn't catch that. Okay. Like I was saying, when you have that kind of distribution, it's not easy to find how to get into it. And people, the Fedora community has a problem. The fundamental problem is that they have made it so complicated. It's not spam protection at this point. It's just unreasonable for most people. And by doing so, they're blocking a lot of people from go to FESCO for a change in that, but I haven't got the idea completely sorted out in my head yet, so I won't go into that. But the thing is that it's become unreasonable for most normal people or most involved in their free time. What you will do to actually become involved is just the matrix is your best friend in my experience. Discourse, people say very good. I personally don't like using it. I'm sorry, I just don't. I don't think that it's very useful and the conversation goes far. But matrix, because it's a chat format and everyone has it on their phone, it's much more approachable to people. And if someone this on matrix, I'm most likely to answer. So if you go to the most popular groups and say, hey, I got a problem with this, does anybody have any idea on that? For example, the D-level group, which is the development with people in every time zone. So you're most likely to get a feedback. You go to a small group, for example, for the most part, I'm talking about the majority of the work in the AI SIG. It's like 4 people. And they're very understaffed. So when I went, they said, okay, but we are a packaging group at this point. We're not doing anything other than packaging because there's so much work to do. So I became a packager and got involved. It was just that easy. I was trying to get involved in bigger groups that made it more complicated. Put your, start small. You can't run before you don't learn how to walk. Okay, I won't go into it any further. Was there any questions for at this point?
Mama? Yes, Mom. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. There is one question from the chat. It is about wiki. Fedora wiki is not updated. The joining process being not smooth. So, do you want to tell from
Sorry,
your
I didn't catch
experience?
that. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, the question is around to join the community. It has been really confusing, and every SIG in Fedora and different working groups, they have the different processes.
Yes.
The wiki and document can be outdated and contradictory. So it seems like a hurdle to join Fedora community smoothly. What do you think, and how can we bypass these hurdles?
Like I said, there is 2 official methods, the discourse and the matrix. In my own experience, the discourse some six won't even look at it. So you have a better odds with the matrix. Some people maybe use IRC, but because it's bridged, it doesn't have any issues. So you have the best odds of getting a response on matrix. Don't even bother with the wiki. I'm sorry, but don't. Unless it's a very popular SIG that constantly maintains their wiki and documentation, you're most likely not going to get any useful information out of it.
Perfectly said. That's what I all the time use, that asking people on the matrix. That's my go-to space as well. Any more question, anybody? If you would like to ask.
If anyone has any questions overall or wants to ping me or talk about anything, I'm man to dev in most places, on GitHub, on Matrix, you name it. So just man #2 dev.
There is still a little bit more time.
Do I have to?
Would you like? Yeah, there is still more time. Do you want to add anything? And there is one more question: that do you recommend any solution to make joining the community easier?
Yes, like I said, I did have something in my mind. The thing is, the infrastructure team and the badge team are very understaffed and need a lot of help. The thing is, my plan relies a lot on these two, because currently the badge team is rewriting the whole thing, and they're doing a tremendous job. But it's like 2 people, so how are they going to get it done in like 2 days? So it's going to take a year or 6 months or something. And as for the infrastructure team, a lot of our infrastructure gets bit rotted over time. So that's a problem here. My problem was to make the SIG proposal a streamlined thing. If you sign up for Fedora, you go into the group sections that's there, you have a template, like a issue template. You submit your issue. It's a proposal of who you are, what you've done, a CV, what have you, a motivation letter. And just like you're applying for a job, you just apply and see what happens. Some people can put hard requirements, like you need a CV, you need this, or they can just write like 10 words about why we should let you join, and that's enough. So groups can go hard or easy based on the requirements. But like I said, this idea isn't fully fleshed out. I think I'm overthinking some things. I need to look into documentations further. But the overall idea I had was this, to approach this issue so that everyone can join, because that was the experience I expected when I joined Fedora as a whole.
I totally agree with you, and I would like to add just one more point to there, that community are built up by people. So I think these issues, as bigger global and open community and diverse community, more we have these kind of issues of smoothing out the processes and tailor out the process so that everybody can consume it easily. So just to add there, with all of these, I think we will need a little more love and focus from people in this area to make it
That's
possible.
the problem. It's a chicken and egg issue. How can you get new people to join if joining is so difficult? So it basically
And that
creates
is
a
exactly
that
yeah.
doesn't get resolved. And that's the reason we don't have enough people in any SIG, because no one wants to address the underlying issue. That is that no one can join. The people that have the time don't have the patience to join. So you need to make it easy for those people to approach it so that you get new people. And it's, 100% won't stay, but even 10% stay, that adds up over time.
So congratulations, you have the opportunity to do that. You have the next question. Can you link the team you said needed help or the team that work on this issue? Can you share that information in our metrics chat? That will be really helpful.
I would say reach out to the community manager, because the community manager knows basically everybody involved in Fedora. They're involved with all the groups, everybody. For example, it's the help desk. Just make it simple for yourself. It's the help desk section of Fedora. If you don't know where something goes, I can't figure out how it goes, just go to the help desk, and that's the community manager. They're in this matrix chat as well, I believe. They're in the discourse, they're everywhere. So they can point you to the right direction better than I can. For example, the groups are very lackluster. I'm working on GPU stuff most of the time while I'm the AI team, because there is no technically any GPU group. And because a lot of the AI stuff requires Vulkan acceleration, ROCm acceleration, and what have you. So it's not that easy to understand. You need to be involved in all of them to know who is doing what.
Okay. Can you still ping the team name there, the one which you just mentioned about the AI and GPU stuff in the chat? And when you said community manager, I think this is the perfect time to bring our beloved community manager, Justin, back on the stage. Justin, would you like to come up and share some tips with us, please? Justin, you are not audible, sorry.
Should I disconnect?
Perfect.
We can go ahead and wrap up and get started with the next session. Well, actually, we've got little things that will fit in from the opening remarks now that there was a little bit of fun with power and network, but we're back now. Thanks again for the presentation and sharing your time with us today for Fedora Week of Diversity. And thanks, Amita, for filling in on very short notice when we lost power here. So I'll go ahead and pull you all off the stage. Thanks again for your time and being part of the Week of Diversity event this year. We're super grateful for having you both be here and involved.
It's a pleasure.
So, all right, we'll go ahead and pull both of them off the stage. So while we have a little bit of a time here, so we figured we'd come back to something that we had to kind of rush through in the opening remarks, but we thought was really important and wanted to call out explicitly too. So I'm going to share my screen here and come back to the intro remarks that I got interrupted with earlier. So I'm going to pull this back up, slideshow. I just want to say really clearly, like, thanks to our amazing volunteer team on the content and promotion side. So we have around our virtual events. Also, if this is something that's interesting to you, there's generally like 4 main kind of ways of contributing to our virtual event space. And we had a great team of volunteers that helped make it all possible this year. On the content and promotion side, I want to give some shout outs to Chris, Rosalind, Joseph, and Constellation, who helped with doing all the marketing, social media promotion, writing articles, helping out with all things content, promotion, and outreach. Couldn't have gotten the word out and helped spread the word and do our CFP without all of you folks. On the event production side, Yona, Adrian, and Tosin have been super helpful in helping stitch all the different pieces together for this event and helping build the platform experience. We're still pretty new in this era of Matrix virtual events, so we're getting better and better at that each time. And we have a great group of folks that are helping us make that possible. So thanks to our event production folks. On the design end, and as well as the Fedora badge, all the artwork and logos and things you've seen throughout the event, Emma, Chris, Nikita, and Constellation have all been huge helps for. So big kudos to our designer folks and helps, and also getting that wonderful little badge out and ready. And then Amita, thanks so much for helping with all the speaker management end of things and working with all of our, helping them stay informed, connecting them with what the plan is for the event, and helping build out the schedule for this year. So I just wanted to circle back to that because when we lost power, I had to kind of rush through things there earlier on. Just wanted to circle back to that and give them real good kudos to our folks who have helped make this possible. And also, again, another thanks to all of our speakers. I've said that previously, but really could not do it without having our great set of speakers who've also helped come up with content and are talking with us here during the Week of Diversity virtual event, as well as our great panel discussion that we'll have later in the day, and a mentored projects update from Fernando, which will be our next scheduled session. And I think the last thing we want to share here is we want to play a little video, actually. So as part of the Week of Diversity, there's been a couple of things going on. I'm going to share a little bit of background here before I play the video. I'm going to go and pull off my screen share here. So as part of Week of Diversity this year, some of you may remember we've had this video on our YouTube from Budapest Flock in 2019. So Flock being our contributor conference, or one of our largest in-person gatherings of our contributor community. There was a really amazing video that was made that year that helped capture all these moments and the vibe of our community at our in-person space. And so we've wanted to do something kind of like that video again, because it would capture the mood, like what it means, like who is Fedora? Who are the people behind our community? And, you know, as I mentioned earlier in the opening remarks, or maybe I didn't if my connection got cut off, you know, we have this really amazing global people from all over the world, people from different cultures, different backgrounds, different walks of life. And as part of that, we've been compiling some videos from our contributor community to help capture and highlight that. So what I'd like to do, what we had originally planned to do during the opening remarks, was to actually play this video and debut it here for the very first time at Week of Diversity. So I'm going to go ahead and work on putting the video onto the stream. Let's see. Okay. We'll do local video. Or I'll just share my screen with audio. Okay, here we go. I think my screen is now visible there. Let's go ahead and play the video. All right, so I want to do a quick test. Someone's going to have to confirm with me if the audio is carrying over, or if I'm going to have to try something else for this. Can I get a quick confirmation in the, well, hold on, wait for it to start here. There's another way. Is that audio coming over? Can people hear?
Yes.
So the yes, all right. And I'll go put it on full screen and we'll play the full video.
From every culture, every language, every walk of life, Fedora brings us together as one community.
From every culture, every language, every walk of life, Fedora brings us together as one community.
From every culture, every language, and every walk of life, Fedora brings us together as one community.
From every culture, every language, every walk of life, Fedora brings us together as one community.
From every culture, every language, and every walk of life, Fedora brings us together as one community.
One. For every culture, every language, every walk of life, Fedora brings us together as one community.
From every culture, from every language, from every walk of life, Fedora brings us together as one community.
From every culture, from every language, from every walk of life, Fedora brings us together as one community.
So, en France, on aime les pains au chocolat, c'est pas les chocolatines. Fedora nas do as proteins.
Tenim corpo in Catalonia. Estas importante.
Domov znamená pivo a hezký hoty.
Pro mě domov je, co by si to nejspíš neřekla doopravdy, Německo, kde jsem našel pěknou chvíli. Nigeria and Afrobeat.
नमस्कार, मैं अनिता शर्मा हम भाग्यवाली बहुत धूमधाम से मनाते हैं।
I am Mary Masri. I'm from Nigeria. Making Nigeria in a minute of rice.
Ich bin Dennis aus Deutschland. In Germany, we enjoy Christmas markets, and many Germans are passionate about their cars.
Oh my god, so we started. Wait, what's the first one for her?
All right. So I will go ahead and put that link in the chat if you want to catch that video on the Fedora YouTube. Again, I want to say a huge thanks. So Chris, who you saw in that video, was a huge part in putting all of this stuff together, working with all these different videos that people have been submitting and uploading, taking a bunch of videos from DevCom CZ that we filmed last week. It wouldn't have been possible without Chris. So I want to make sure we have a huge kudos and thanks for Chris. Drop some applause emoji in the chat. And I also want to mention too, as far as ways that you can help contribute to our video, there are many different languages that you may have heard in that video. And we want to collect closed captions. We want to make some closed captions for some of the content to make it as accessible for people as possible. So if you heard a language that was not English and that you recognize and know and you'd like to contribute to that, come say hi in the DEI Matrix Room chat. We can help connect you on how to do that. Or you can also just comment on the YouTube video and we can integrate things from there as well. So again, thanks, Chris, for that awesome video. And I'm super excited for us to launch that here at Week of Diversity for the first time. All right, so we're about 5 minutes or so ahead of schedule, but I see Fernando is here. So maybe we can go ahead and start a little bit early for the Mentor Projects update. So let me go ahead and pull you on up here, Fernando.
Hey there, can you hear me?
Yes, sure can. Good.
Great.
Afternoon, I believe. Thanks for being here with us.
Then, no problem. Let me share my screen. Okay, great.
Perfect.
Can you see the slides and they're passing?
Yes, I can see the slides.
Great.
Everything looks good on my end. So I will jump off and hand it over to you for an update on our Mentored Projects program. Thanks so much.
Perfect, no problem. Hey there, I'm Fernando. I'm a software engineer at Red Hat, and I also contribute to Fedora in multiple areas. I have contributed in SPAC a year, and now I'm also co-leading the Mentor Projects initiative together with Smira. And we wanted to provide an update during the Fedora Diversity Week. So in essence, what is the Mentor Projects initiative? Well, we have several long-term and short-term goals. We have the long-term goal of interns and mentors will know what is expected of them entering a Fedora Mentor project and have a smooth onboarding process. If you wonder what is a Fedora Mentor project, in essence, is Enriching Google Summer of Code or other mentorship opportunities that involves Fedora project. In the past, this was happening in a regular basis, but with the time, it started to be a little bit more complex, and the docs were a little bit outdated, and we have difficulties getting contributors, mentors, and applying to projects. So we wanted to solve this with the initiative. The idea behind it is that at the end, everyone will know how to apply, will know how to be a good mentor, how to be a successful mentee, and the project, the mentorship opportunities will be like a very thing. Like it will happen frequently, and we will have people on board for organizing them. In the short-term goal aspect, well, the idea is to provide support to mentors and interns by providing a community space for mentors to connect with each other. So that's what we have currently in Matrix. The idea is that they will have a space to ask questions, ask for support of other mentors if they are facing a challenging situation, see how they can overcome the challenges that they have, and so on, and coordinate together. Also, we are creating new role handbooks to onboard and guide participants. These role handbooks are, in essence, documentation explaining what are the steps, what are the challenges expected, how could you do better, some resources that will help you, tools that you will need, and so on. The idea is to make the experience as smoother as possible for all the people involved. That means mentors, mentees, organization admins, and so on. And then we plan to advocate these new role handbooks and community spaces. So if we do something, we want it to be useful, and for that, it needs to reach the people that need them. And of course, get the feedback from them and apply it to our documentation and spaces. So that is, in essence, the goals that we have. But first of all, who is involved on the initiative? So we have the initiative leaders, it's Miraguel and me, Fernando. We also have our secretary sponsor, which is Jonah. And we have a lot of collaborators from the Fedora Council, and especially Justin, that has been helping a lot. And okay, what happened already? So we started with this initiative in August last year. We met for first time there, and we started to discuss what we wanted to do and so on. Then around September, we started to define and distribute the tasks, and we took the ownership of them and started to move them forward. And thanks to that, around November, we proposed the Fedora Mentor project initiative to the Fedora project. In January, we applied to 2024 edition of Enriching, and we were accepted. And we also applied to Google Summer of Code, but unfortunately, we were not accepted. In February, the initiative was officially approved by the Fedora Council, and then we started to do some past mentors and mentee interviews to get some feedback of the process that we had and understand how we could improve it. So in April, it was the contributors deadline of Outreach, and all the contributors applied by them. And the Outreach season already started, which is really good because what we've heard from the mentors is that everything is going very well, and we are very happy for the mentors and the mentees. During June and August, we plan to create some swag and cool stuff for the people, mentors and mentees working on the Fedora Mentor project, like Ulrichi. And in August, we plan to do a showcase at Fedora Vlog. And during September, the Ulrichi seasons should end. It's the deadline. And by then, we plan to ask for feedback again and work again on the role handbooks and all the documentation that we generated to apply the feedback. And the role handbooks should be completely ready by October, but they should be published before, because currently we are already working on them, and we plan to publish them as soon as possible. So you might think, how does it help DI this mentor project? So, well, in first place, it provides a paid opportunity for people from diverse backgrounds. That's something very important. Volunteering is very nice, but there is a lot of people that cannot afford that because of their personal situation. And it's very important that there is some space for this kind of, some space for paid opportunities, because they allow them to put the focus here and move their career forward on open source. Doesn't necessarily need to be technical career, but also on design, marketing, documentation, whatever. And yeah, it's an opportunity that it's not common in a lot of environments. Then the role handbooks, with them we will try to provide some help how to deal with communication and culture difference, which are very common because when you have people from different areas of the world, they have different culture, different way of communicating, they have different infrastructure, and sometimes there might be some conflicts, and it's good to have the necessary tools and support to work on them and overcome them properly. In addition, I think these mentorship opportunities are very good for mentees to learn how to overcome challenging situations, because also mentees, the pressure for them is usually a lot, even though they will probably be nervous about the opportunity. They will try to do a good job, and they usually put a lot of pressure on themselves. So it's good that they have some good mentor that help them to guide them during the whole process, and could enable them to do a good job, and at the same time has a nice experience. And mentors will learn about other people's background, because it's very common, especially in technology, that you have a very short-sighted experience. Like you only know how is the life of the people that is around you, and they have a similar economic situation, and they share kind of the same subset of experience that you. But with these kinds of opportunities, you can learn what is the background of people from really different areas of the world, with different backgrounds, different challenges, and it's empathy exercise that will probably help you to understand better what are the different challenges that people need to overcome during their life, and probably will help you to improve as a person, and as a professional in the industry that you work on. And well, in essence, this is all that we have. So have you participated in a Fedora mentor project before? If so, we want your feedback. We want to understand what is missing, how we could improve the process. Feel free to reach out on private message in Matrix if needed. Here's my handle. And then also in the mentoring room, please feel free to join and tell us, hey, I participated as a mentee, mentor, project organizer, whatever. How could I help? I had this experience and it was bad. This was good. You should do this again. You should stop doing this. Whatever. So any questions so far?
I can come on up here with you and we can do some Q&A. So there's
Sure.
a couple of questions that are popping. So for folks who are following along, don't forget that you can add your questions to the Q&A in the Matrix Room thread as well. So there is a thread with questions. You can drop them in there. But the first one, let's start with Fernando. Why did you want to get involved with the mentored projects at Fedora? Or why do you personally care about our internship programs in Fedora?
Right, that's a very good question. So in essence, I started contributing to free software back then in 2016, and I was very lucky to participate in Google Summer of Code 2 years. It was a very good experience for me in the personal way and professional way. I learned a lot from my mentor. It was a really good mentor, and I think it's completely changed my life. After that, I was able to get a job. In this case, I got a job at Red Hat, and it was kind of funny because I already knew some people of my team because of this mentorship opportunity, because my mentor empowered me to do some networking on the industry and so on. And for me, it was a completely win situation. Like it was probably the thing that changed my life for better the most. So I think without these mentorship opportunities, I will have not had the opportunity to meet some people and work with some people that they are really good professionals, and I learned a lot from them. Of course, you can always contribute to these projects as open source contributor, as a volunteer. But in my case, I needed to have a job, and this was a huge limitation for me. And the paid internship helped me a lot because I was getting money at the same time doing what I wanted and getting a lot of experience that was very valuable later. And I think that Fedora is a very good place to empower this. And as someone did the work to help me in the past, now I would like to do the work to help them in the future.
Coming full circle. That's a really beautiful answer, Fernando. And, I feel like it's really a great testament to the impact that powerful mentoring can have on someone in shaping their career, well, even personal and professional, really. You learn so much about, I think beyond just the work, you learn a lot about the things that you're doing and the tasks and the project work, but you also learn a lot about like working together in a team of people and how you, like how collaboration works and all these other kind of soft skills things that can also kind of propel you forward in many other ways beyond just learning about how to do some sort of project or some kind of new technology thing too. So I think it was a really beautiful answer about why mentoring, why Fedora mentored projects. So we'll keep going with the questions. We've got one. What do you think is one of the most rewarding parts of being a mentor?
Oh, yeah, I have. So one cool thing that one of the most rewarding parts is that at the end the project is successful or something like that, but it isn't. I thought that before, but recently I heard from one of the mentees that did the outreach with Fedora in 2021 that she was accepted at a master's in a university that she wanted, and the outreach experience helped her a lot to be able to do that. And she was progressing in the professional in her professional career, and she was really grateful of all the mentorship opportunities. So that was the most rewarding thing for me, seeing that a person is progressing and moving forward and getting more opportunities thanks to a good mentorship opportunity. So the thing is that for a mentee, the mentorship opportunity is something that is mostly temporal. At some point, it will end, and that's good. It's how it should be. One should not be all the time doing mentorship opportunities, but more like the mentorship opportunity is the ignition or the boost to move forward to a better or a more advanced position in their career, like a junior position, or get into college, or this kind of things.
Great answer. I think then it looks like our last question. Are there any mentorship plans or a roadmap to help community members get into the governance of Fedora? So if I might interpret this question a bit, thinking about maybe like even how you as a member of the Fedora Council co-leading an initiative with Smira, like I guess what kind of pathways or plans or roadmaps are there to help people explore like getting into this governance pathway? And maybe if there's not one, maybe you could share what your experience was in kind of going down that pathway.
Yes. So in essence, this is a little bit, so the scope of mentoring inside Fedora for already community members and so on, it's a little bit out of the scope of the mentor project at this point. But yes, I can share my experience. So in essence, I initially presented myself at the Mindshare elections, and it didn't work. Like I got elected, but I was not sure how to handle it and how to do a meaningful participation. But later on, Justin contacted me about, hey, I noticed that you are interested in mentorship opportunities. What if we do something? And we move forward. One of the ways that I learned of how to participate in governance in Fedora that I didn't know before is with community initiatives. So in essence, if you have an idea about, hey, how could you improve Fedora project? And this idea aligns with Fedora strategy, you can present an initiative. The initiative needs to follow a specific format. It's on the documentation if you search for Fedora initiatives. And this initiative should allow Fedora to move forward to reach their goals on their strategy. And in essence, I think after that, all the people from the council were very helpful. They helped me a lot to understand how things work, which is not easy sometimes. And yeah, they put a lot of attention that I was very welcome there, and they made sure that I was having a great experience. So that's very nice. Yeah, once you have the initiative proposed, they in a sense provide you some feedback and you do some adjustments, and then they do a voting, and if it gets accepted, there are continuous sessions of checking out if things are moving forward the way it should or not, and so on. Yeah, I think there is more space for improvement in onboarding or mentoring inside Fedora community, like for example, from people that is already part of the council to mentor other people of how to engage more with the council, or if you are part of Fedora Infra, be a mentor for them and try to get more people involved in Fedora Infra. And this applies for documentation, marketing, or whatever, all the groups. And I think we should do some work about it.
Yeah, because I feel like one of the challenges is that, in Fedora, we're usually a pretty welcoming group of people, but sometimes making those first steps are the hardest challenge. And knowing which way to go and how to, find your way around and navigate, I think those can be some of the tricky parts with like finding your way. But, I feel like, we do have some amazing people who do mentoring in the community. And I think that's definitely helped. Actually, I thought I'll have to do a little bit of a shout out here to some folks. Like, we really do have this amazing mentoring culture and community in Fedora. I can think of people like, for example, Marie Norden, who was a pre-outreachy intern in 2013 or 2014 for Fedora badges. And, her whole transition into getting into working in Red Hat and doing Fedora things, but also her role as being a mentor with so many different interns. We have that kind of trend of our interns and people who get involved and also kind of stick around too. Like Chris, for example, who helped be a huge part of this event, was an outreachy intern with Fedora and actually with Marie last year, along with Roland Taylor, who was also doing a lot of help and work around some of the design end of things in Fedora badges. We've got outreach interns who are with us right now, like Rosalind and Tosin, as well as Adrian, who's another intern helping, drive a lot of the kind of things that we're doing in the community now. We have people like Nikita Tripathi, Smira Goel, who are also former outreach interns who are doing quite a bit with Fedora today as well. Like Smira is also helping co-lead the initiative, having been a outreach intern with Fedora in 2020. You yourself are an intern, past intern, and kind of had that exposure to the community. So like those things, to me, it's really, really amazing and special what we have in our community. And even with those challenges of getting started and trying to figure out the right way and how to participate, at the end of the day, we've got that strong mentoring culture. So even if sometimes things aren't always clear, we usually always have people who really want to try to help out and bring people along. I think that's a big part of our mentored projects experience and the culture that we drive through mentoring in the project.
Yeah. Yes, it's pretty nice. And I think for internal mentorship, it makes a lot of sense. Like, even though if you're a part of Fedora, is really huge. And if you're a part of one section of Fedora, it is probable that you don't know the people involved in another group, because there is a lot of people in Fedora and it's really hard to know all of them. And having a connection, having a mentor, even though you are familiar with Fedora, even though you are experienced, might not be useful maybe for a technical mentorship opportunity, but as a connection thing. It's the same way that joining a party when you don't know the people in the party might be overwhelming and uncomfortable. But if you know at least someone and that person helps you to introduce to the others, the situation might be easier and less uncomfortable. And then you can be on your own and develop yourself. But that initial step of getting someone say, hey, this is Fernando. He does whatever in community, and now he's interested in Fedora Infra. So, hey, why don't we show him what we do? And then it's a first introduction step that might be really helpful.
For sure. Well, Fernando, thank you so much for coming up and spending some of your time on Friday to talk about our mentor projects programs. And it's been great to have you.
Thank you very much.
Part of our speaker panel for this event.
Thank you.
All right. So we are at, so many time zones. We are at, let's see, about 11:50 UTC or almost 2 o'clock for folks in Europe. So we are actually about to come up on a break here in the schedule. So we're going to be taking a short pause on the broadcast. We'll go offline for a little bit. So this is for a lot of folks now getting into lunchtime or maybe some dinner time here. So we'll take a quick break, freshen up, grab a bite to eat, or maybe if you're just waking up and joining us, grab your cup of coffee. And we will be back in about 40 minutes from right now. So that is going to be, I believe that'll be 12 UTC or 2 p.m. Europe or 8:30 US Eastern. So yeah, definitely probably a cup of coffee time for a lot of people. But we will go and take a quick break and we will be back. So do come on back to the Matrix room or follow along on YouTube. We will be back in about 40 minutes and have another great session lined up after this. We've got a panel discussion with Amita Sharma, Deepisha Burse, Benny Vasquez, and Vipul Siddharth on DEI in open source. So stay tuned for some excellent content. We will be right back after this break. Get your coffee, get you some lunch, and we'll see you in a little bit. All right. Hello, everyone. We are back to Fedora Week of Diversity. So from here, we're getting into the last part of our day for the schedule. Up next, we've got our last main session before closing remarks. But we are here to have the DEI in open source panel with quite a few folks from both the Fedora community, but also quite some wide range of experiences. And I'm really excited to have our group of panelists here together. So I'm going to go ahead and bring everyone up on stage. We have Vipul and Benny and Amita. And Adrian, I'm going to have to drop you because I think we are capped on our list here. So you. And all right. Hey, folks, how's everyone doing today? It's great to see some familiar faces here.
Yeah, hi. I'm good. How are you?
Doing well.
Yeah, I think it's like a good morning, a good afternoon, and a good evening, like all in one.
So.
Yeah.
Which I think honestly very fitting for our Week of Diversity because we have folks from all over the world in the project. Yep. So I think Amita, I believe you are our chair for the panel.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, are we waiting on anyone else still? Suchi?
Yeah, she is traveling, so she told that she'll join in maybe in some time, or so we can get started with the folks we have, and then she will join in with us maybe later on.
All right. Well, from here, I'm going to hand it all over to you lovely people to drive us through our last panel discussion for the day. Over to you all.
Thank you, Justin. Thanks a lot. Thanks, everybody, for joining in. As Justin correctly said, that I think this panel represents the diversity really well because we are from different places, different time zones, right? So without any further delay, let's dig into the introduction. So I would like to request everybody on the panel to please introduce themselves to the audience. And especially if you can cover how you started in open source and your involvement in DEI, that will be really great. So let's start with Dipisha.
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Dipesha Burse. I recently completed my bachelor's degree in computer science. I live in Pune, India. And I started my open source journey, I think, in my second year. And then I slowly got involved in different communities, different projects, and eventually I started contributing to GNOME. So currently I'm leading the DEI initiative at GNOME. And yeah, I'm also a part of the organizing committee there. So yeah, that's my introduction.
Thank you so much. Benny, would you like to go next?
Sure, yeah. I'm Benny, obviously. I got started in open source because I worked at a web hosting control panel called cPanel that relied heavily on open source. And we believed strongly in giving back to the open source community. So I got to interact with folks a lot there. And then I worked for a company called Chef for a while that taught me a lot more about what it is to be part of an open source project that has a large community. And through a number of things, ended up at Alma Linux, and I'm excited to be part of this. From the DEI perspective, I have worked really hard to the current day, I work really hard to make Alma Linux a welcoming community. And other than that, it's a lot of reminding folks that just because you have your own perspective doesn't mean that it's the same perspective everybody has.
Thank you so much. Just one thing I want to notify to Justin, if you are hearing, I just got a message from Shuchi that she was trying to join in the Google Meet link, and I shared this link with her just now. So please keep a watch. If she joins in, put her on the stage. Thank you so much. Thanks again, Benny, for your introduction, and welcome, Shuchi. Thanks for joining in. Vipul, would you like to go ahead and give your introduction?
Absolutely, not really a stranger to the community. I'm Vipul. I work as open source innovation specialist at UNICEF, and my work lately have been, well, base of it is helping understand the innovators that are often overlooked, the power of open source and how they can use it and make their solution truly robust and scalable to reach the people unreachable from general technology world today. Uh, I also work with a lot of digital public goods to help them understand what open source is and how can you make, there's open source done right. How can you make a project which is reaching everyone? And DEI is core of that. I started as a user, then contributing to Fedora project, and specifically the DEI part of, along with a lot more, but DEI part I have learned and grown in Fedora project, where I learned from Amita, you on the screen that I see. I have learned a lot from you, Justin, Yona, Marie. There are many people who have taught me how to understand what you bring, what your the privileges that you need to understand, and also how can you counter that. But at the same time, the unique voice that you have. And if I can feel that my voice is nothing unique, then there are a lot of other people can feel that as well. So how do we create a safe space? I also was the diversity advisor to Fedora Council for a little while. But yeah, now I constantly, the solutions that we build, we look at many different angles on how can we build solutions for communities that we think we are building for, but how do we include them into it? So my DEI is not about, recently at least, not about project contributor, but thinking how can we make sure the tools are developed for children, which is very relevant to UNICEF, or people who do not have internet connections. How do we reach this? If we are building a financially inclusive tool, how do we make sure it works without internet so people who do not even have smartphones can use it? So diversity, equity, inclusion is core of what UNICEF should be doing and or what we are doing. So that's my journey and involvement in DEI.
That was an awesome introduction, Vipul, and I'm so excited that we have people from UNICEF, NOM, Fedora, and whatnot. And I would like to welcome Shuchi as well, who is from Red Hat and the DEI advisor in Red Hat. So, Shuchi, if you can take a few minutes and please introduce yourself to our audience, that will be really good.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Amita and Vipul, for the introduction and warm welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Shuchi Sharma. My pronouns are she and her. I am wearing a black jacket and pink top, and I have black brownish hair. And I am delighted to be here with all of you today. I serve as the Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer at Red Hat Software. I've been working for about probably most of my career in technology and have done a variety of things across the technology space in consulting, strategy, sales, you name it, and spent probably about the last 8 years working in the DEI space on the strategic transformation of organizations to really advance women and underrepresented groups and minorities. And it has been an incredible journey. This work is incredibly important for organizations in terms of maintaining competitive advantage and innovation, and also like for creating fair and equal access to opportunities for all. And that is what really motivates me, not only because of my own life journey, but the potential that I know is untapped in our population that is so important for us to bring to the fore in all of our organizations and companies, and help us think about how do we create a more inclusive society for all, to Vipul's earlier point. So thank you for having me. I haven't spent a lot of time in the open source communities, but I am delighted to be here as a listener and observer today and look forward to the conversation.
Thank you so much, Ruchit. Thanks a lot. Absolutely, and I cannot agree more. And we all know this point by now, that how critical it is to have the DEI representation and the groups in all the organization, whether it is open source or not. So my first question to the panel is that, yeah.
I think we have one panelist not introduced yet. Oh no, sorry, you started with it. I'm sorry.
Okay. So my question is that what are the common challenges when we try to establish such DEI working group in our communities? What are the common challenges we face to implement these kind of initiatives in any organization? And specifically, if we can focus in open source communities. Vipul, would you like to address this?
Yeah. So again, I could answer from open source perspective, but I'll answer what is very relevant to me. And one of the things, the biggest challenge is when it comes to resources, because building good solutions or accessible solution and doing more work in DEI requires resources. And it's very important that governance structure realizes that there must be some resource allocated for either be it capacity building or be it providing your community with resources, and that can be from actual devices to connectivity to a platform to talk, and it can go anywhere. But also one very unique that I see is acknowledging and doing something to go beyond your survivorship bias. One of the examples I would say a challenge could be, let's take this example of stream. Does this streaming solution work for you? And probably all of you will answer yes. But the thing is, for those who it didn't work, they're just not here. So how do we look beyond our common understanding of the project and try to get insight from people who are not in this space? Only then we can identify those critical points which is not very visible. So that's something unique. I don't know. It's not easy when we want to do survey for Linux, unless opening it for everyone. There's no other way. If it was just for Fedora specific, you can put it on discussion.fb.o, and probably a lot of community will answer. But how do you go beyond? How do you go beyond and target those specific members who could be there? Challenge. Hopefully, someone will answer and fix a solution here.
Yeah. And Dipisha and Benny, would you like to contribute to what Vipul has said, and what are your thoughts around it? What are those challenges in establishing such kind of groups in our open source communities?
Yeah. I think adding on to what Vipul said, I completely second that. Um, Again, measuring these things is also something that I've seen a lot of issues with. Like when Vipul says, okay, we're not reaching a certain, we're not reaching certain people. How do you measure that, okay, things are changing or they're not changing? And how do we know how much impact? It's hard to really measure it. So I think while the first step is finding the solution, the next would be like, how do you move forward with it, right? So that is something that I'm still trying to figure out for Gnome. Like we're having discussions on like measuring how to measuring the impact that we're having, what changes are we making. So I think that was something that
Debisha, let me ask you a question, because
yeah.
the communities, as my understanding, don't always have it's probably a more fluid structure in terms of membership, right?
Mhm.
So there's no sort of official count of individuals involved. You can take it a snapshot at a given point in time,
Yeah.
but it's difficult because they're so dynamic, correct?
Right. Yeah.
But you can look at maybe trends over time in terms of representation. And if you take those snapshots, you can see is it evolving? Is it changing?
Yeah.
The way that we want it to, even though you don't have a standard number that you can consistently measure by.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yet that does require some level of analytics and tools in order to see. So, and representation in this open source communities is so important, but I agree, it's a challenge, right? How do you consistently measure your representation in the community structure? And I mean, you all are more well versed. I'm really curious to know what your thoughts are there.
Well, and even a step beyond that, it's hard to measure how effective the community that you have is, which I think is what you were talking about. The work that you're doing, how do you decide whether or not it's worth it? How do you decide where to put your efforts, right? That can be really hard too. One of the other things that I see as a problem, especially in deep, not deep, but the kind of programmers that I interact with regularly, is getting buy-in on the importance of accessibility in software, right? Like if we just go at the base level, getting the acceptance of, no, we really do have to do this. This matters. It's important. You have to pay attention to it. That's how I ended up. I think that's how I ended up here, right? The idea that if there's something that is broken, there's only, you can, going back to the earlier statement, you can only really hear from the people after they've shown up. If you are excluding a whole group of people for intentionally or unintentionally, they're not going, it's not their job necessarily to be loud about it, right? There's a I'm feeling I'm going to be a little bit calling out Fedora right now, but there's a bug that I'm sure we all know about that's in Fedora 40 that is making it so screen readers can't get past the like opening or the install. And there's one person who has been kind of loud about it, who shouldn't have to be the person that's loud, right? That we should have caught it. We should have, all of that kind of stuff. Like it's been identified and they're working on it and all of that kind of stuff. But the lack of buy-in from, like, of importance put on that kind of testing early on can cause problems everywhere. And if you don't have somebody in your community that represents that group, you're never going to hear about it. Like, we would not have heard about that bug, right, if they hadn't been testing it.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, Benny, because that to me is like one of the biggest ways that communities can have impact around inclusion is through the accessibility.
Yep.
And so, you know, for example, at Red Hat, we have a group that is really focused around digital accessibility and our accessibility in our product development. But you're absolutely right. How do we extend that into our communities farther upstream so that it's easier and it's already, you know, it needs to start at the design phase. And oftentimes I think it's also like there's a level of education people just don't have because of their own life experience, right? We live in a very ableist society all around the world. And so it's not natural for people to think about accessibility needs. But once they understand the value and the importance of it, through awareness and education, oftentimes they'll come around to say, okay, well, this really is important. And, you know, so many people are touched by visible and invisible disabilities, and that population will only continue to grow. So it's something that's definitely on our radar at Red Hat. And we have an accessibility leader in our company who works very closely with me, but it's cross enterprise, right? Like we have to be thinking about this at all levels of our organization. And that might be one of the areas where we need to think about how do we get our communities, open source communities, to really focus around accessibility and make that the priority, right?
Well, absolutely, Shuchi. And coming back, looping it back again to what people started is with the resources. So we have very limited, currently limited resources and people to work on, the testing part of the Fedora. And we are glad that we have people helping us raising that kind of issues, and we are giving it attention, if not sooner than later. I know the bug cost more when it is found after the release or the production. But at the same time, I was thinking that if Shuchi, we can later think of having help of this accessibility group within Red Hat to guide our community engineers somehow to see that what is their strategy and plan of action or the test plan, how they do the testing and invest themselves in this kind of testing. So that angle, if we can work out, maybe that can be helpful for Fedora and other communities as well.
There's actually a whole thing going on right now about the accessibility testing in Fedora. There's a whole week about it.
Yes.
Justin could probably drop a link to it. The accessibility testing week that started a few days ago, and it goes for another, I think, 4 days. That's exactly that. It's trying to get people rallied around this need, right? It's kind of exciting to me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, moving to the next one, which I think relates to very much related to this previous discussion we are having, is the role of local communities, because accessibility can also be very diverse depending on the local groups, right? So, how exactly we motivate or ensure to have these local communities in a who can represent us globally and also bring out that diversity in a global community. So how we can fuel and what exactly the role of these local communities in the global community like Fedora. So Dipisha, would you like to pick this
Yeah.
up and get us going?
Yeah, sure. I think the biggest, thing that we can really do to motivate people would be to acknowledge them, give them the recognition. We saw that, especially after Nome Asia, which happened in Nepal this 2023. So now we have a Nome Nepal community, right? So whether it's funding or whether it's giving them, even like small shout out on like social media platforms or anything like that. So when people feel seen or heard, they feel more empowered and they will want to contribute more or be a part of it more, or maybe like help you out with accessibility. Like you said, accessibility can mean a wide range of things. So I think for me, what I've noticed is acknowledgement and recognition really goes a long way. So yeah.
Vipul, what do you think? So UNICEF also maintains like the local communities all around the world. They do that.
Yes, UNICEF is a little bit too big and diverse, and the way different organizations and departments within UNICEF work is different ways. Uh, but one thing, local communities can definitely help to identify those overlooked aspects of project development that is considered, or that people who are not going to use the product, if they are going to develop it, there will always be a thing that you can't consider. For example, age, geography, relevance, culture and religion context, right? Education and literacy. If I'm developing a solution for India and it's in English, there are many questions that I need to think. Is internet fast enough for them to access this video? Should there be another way of delivering this kind of resources if you want to? And I'll base my answer on what Suchi mentioned, that you need to have different stages of understanding with your product. And again, for Fedora project, it's a mature project, and for it, it will look a bit different. But you need to start with design and ideate phase. Then you go to prototype, and then you go to build, and then you go to feedback and marketing. And when you are ideating it, you need to understand or ask questions. Are you centering community-based organizations in order to validate your assumption about what the community need? Do they even want this kind of solution? Or if you are building a solution, what happens if it has a facial recognition feature? Will it work with women wearing hijab? Uh, how is it a fun, not just accessibility checkmark, but it's fun to use for people with disabilities? And having local people, they can actually validate these things, that yeah, this is actually happening in as the result of it. So that feedback, that giving people space to show exactly what they need and if they can use it or not, is very important. And we need to approach it at different stages of project. So the survey will look very different on what stage of the project you are building at. Yeah, that's what.
Definitely. I'm sure, Shuji, you must have a very pioneered and experienced answer to much more polished as you maintain these local communities in at an enterprise level. So my question is a little different for you. I would like to know from your experience an example, if you can share with us, that most fascinating example of having these local community, the impact on DEI. Can you share any example like, okay, we have people in Singapore and this is what came up from there, which was very fascinating.
I think that's the beauty of working in a global organization, right? And one of the things that is part of my really aspirations for Red Hat, right, as we grow as an organization, is that we become really more global in our mindset and how we work together. But that global mindset requires us to be very connected to our local communities outside of the US. And so, for example, if you look at things that are there could be initiatives happening in India that we want to pull into our global strategy, right, and cascade all over the world. We also have to make sure that we're listening to different communities around what their needs are, right, and understand that we can have a global structure, but we also have to have regional plans that are adopted for the needs of those communities. Because, for example, what a woman needs in India may be very different in terms of support than what a woman in South Korea might require, for example, to be successful, right? I think we all know very, very much, like, there's a strong identity in India of being a daughter, right? And this is really important for us to consider, but it's not an identity or persona we may consider in how we shape our systems, processes, and programming in the US. So it's important to have that cultural understanding, but also understand, well, what can we learn from this persona, and how we're supporting our associates in this country, and how do we bring that into our global strategy where possible. So, and we also have examples where our communities have created impact in the community around them. Ultimately, we want to represent the communities we serve, right? We want to look like them. We want to understand them, because that's where our customer bases are as well. And if we don't represent our customers, how do we create products for them? It goes also back to accessibility, right? The needs around accessibility are only going to increase going forward. We know this. So we have to be thinking about how we design our products to meet those needs, but also how we design our systems, our experiences for our associates, as well as their demographics are changing, right? The younger generation, of which you all are a part of, it comes after mine, which is Z or millennials, very different needs, very different expectations, right? It's important to be thinking about how do we listen to those generations and incorporate what they are expecting and need and want in an organization as well.
Wow, that's so impressive. The knowledge you all carry around DEI, I think this is incredible. And this, with that, I would like to go to my next question. That so many thoughts, so many efforts we are putting into bringing in these diverse people and being inclusive in our communities, at our enterprise level, local and globally. But at the same time, how do we measure that, where we stand with these efforts? Is there any metrics in place for DEI which can measure all of these things? And is there one tool? If not, then what it should be? What should be the right solution to measure all of these things, that we are doing good, at least we are getting better, to keep track of it, what it can be? And I would like to start with Ben.
Sure, yeah. It's one of those things that we always fight against, right? Measuring, because you end up asking people to surrender knowledge that or information about themselves that they might not feel comfortable surrendering. And that's always the first hurdle, especially in a technical community. There's a lot of privacy concerns that people have, whether it's because they want control over their information in general, or because they're worried that information will be used against them in some way, right? There's always that concern. That's the first hurdle that we have to get over. And I struggle to find an ethical way to balance those things. Typically, if you rely on something that's self-reported, which is what we should be doing, you're going to get skewed data. You can get if you get a good sample size, then it can be good enough. But without a pretty significant sample size, it's hard to really know what's true and what's not. So then if you look for something that's not self-reported, then you're starting to get into an area where you're violating the understood agreement between you and your community, right? And that makes it so hard to accurately measure what you've got in terms of diversity and what therefore measure the effectiveness of anything you're doing, right?
And question, Benny, is that because when you join a community, you don't necessarily commit for a certain length of time, and you don't commit your information, your personal identifying information, even your name, your address, your birthday. You're not committing anything,
right?
You're
when
only contributing, correct?
Very rarely, even if you just are joining a chat room, you're not using your real name. You're using your handle. You're using one you made up for this chat room, like whatever
Right.
And that means that it's almost impossible to directly equate this username that is contributing however much they are, whether it's a lot or not very much, and anything that would track along what we would consider information that we can use as to track diversity, right? It's so hard.
And what is the perception, if I may just ask a question to all of you while I'm so fortunate to be within this group of people. And Amita, please just tell me if there's no time. I won't ask the question.
No, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
The question really is how do you see the experience of women? Let's just take women for an example, contributors to the communities. Is there an experience where there's a difference, for example, in time, in terms of how long it takes to get their pull requests addressed? Is there a difference in how their code is being addressed? What is the general perception? Well, I know it has not been quantitatively measured.
In GNOME, at least, all of the GNOME projects, I have really not seen much difference, which is really positive and that's good. So I have not personally seen any difference till date. I think even how people address each other, even in the chat rooms, or even when we're helping each other out with, a PR, like you said, I personally have not seen any difference. So, yeah.
Okay, good.
I'm not qualified to answer this. Tough to observe from my angle, but I think it was Linux Foundation which had a course on open source, and they mentioned that there is a massive amount of difference of how pull requests are criticized or how much
Right.
they take to be accepted. So that definitely exists, and measuring it is tough. And that's why I also feel about metrics in general, that they can be very quantitative and not qualitative. And we all know this, but the thing is, numbers can be gamed if we are just trying to look at numbers and grow it. For us, from my perspective of frontier technology team at UNICEF, where we try to look at new technology and see how we can scale it or adapt it to help children, what has worked is a good framework where we can ask those critical questions that are relevant to us. So even if there is a metrics, for one solution, it will be totally different depending on what community or what kind of if it's a water and sanitization problem, then there's a different kind of question you need to ask. But if it's a disaster mapping, that's important. Immediate need, first 12 hours of any disaster is the most important. So the question you ask is very different. And those are very on point to reach certain perspective. So, yeah, I don't have.
You made a good point. I also wanted to tell the same thing. I think there was a blog post as well from one of the female contributor telling that till the time my username was very neutral, my peers were getting merged very easily. But the moment I attached a face to my username, it got difficult. So yeah, with that, I would like to move to our next one is how do you all think that can right and diverse talent can be attracted to the communities and to organizations as Ganesh Ji? and how we can retain this diverse talent or diverse skills. Vipul, I think you qualify to answer this one.
Yeah, well, obviously we have best practices of a community that allows a good experience for anyone to onboard. But I think there is an aspect of resource allocation and sustainability to it, uh, about retaining contributor, even inviting people. I remember US aid had a Women Connect. I think this it still might be around a Women Connect initiative, and Humanitarian OpenStreetMap used that to empower women and girls to create gender data. And when they realized that it was so different from context, some places the access to childcare or access to hospitals, that kind of information started popping more, but at certain places they noticed uh, which are the bus stops that are well lit for security for women. So one of the way to invite diverse community is by allowing them, providing them certain value, and creating that incentive to participate, and realizing that's a very important voice. uh, Community is built by these individual people and individual communities by itself in subversions, and showing that's important is very good step. I mean, very important step. So there's always that resources constraints in these things. What would it take for Fedora project to have an in-person event in West Africa where people don't have electricity or computer or Linux? So how do you go and empower that? By going there and talking to people and providing them those things. So depending on how do you consider, what element of this wide spectrum do you consider the underrepresented in your community and the specific need, it will be a bit different.
Absolutely, that's a very strong message. I think. Benny, what is your take on that?
So I honestly think I want to hear from Depisha about this, because knowing that the gnome community has felt really welcoming to you, I think the gnome community is going to be the experts, at least here, right? I'd love to hear how you guys are making the space feel safe, and how you are making sure that as folks come in, they're met with the right people so that they want to stick around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, there are two parts that I wanted to really talk about, when we talk about this. So the first part was attracting diverse contributors, right? What I've noticed is, like, I think people also mentioned, you need to have some incentive, right? Nobody will join without purpose. You need to give them that reason. But the minute that you give them that reason and they do feel welcome, or they do feel, honestly, just if you feel good, right, you're going to come again. The first step is just bringing them there, and then it's all about the culture, that person is in. So I think that's definitely something which is very unique to Gnome, and I really loved it, which is their code of conduct is like, um, they have been able to control that really well. Like, it's very defined, or the code of conduct is, they're very strict about it. So that everybody's addressed properly, they're talked to properly, everyone feels wanted or heard, right? Um, Also, I think it's about, you have, I don't know how else to explain this, but if you have one good person, you're going to attract better people, or nice people, right? It builds a nice community. So I think Gnome has been able to sustain that nice community for a very long time. We've had contributors like, contributing since 19, whatever, 97, 2002, so especially when we create this link or this connect between these contributors and even the new ones, then they're ready to give that helping hand, so people feel like staying, because then you're even learning something, right? So I think that's why I stayed. I've been in the gnome community since Jan last year, and I have not once felt negatively about anybody, which is it's a big thing to say. So yeah, I think that's what gnome focuses on.
Dipesha, you have articulated it so well. Every point you were saying, I had a very big smile on my face just by thinking that, okay, this also exists in Fedora. This also we do in Fedora. This also we do in Fedora. So, okay, we are also doing a very good job. And I have been in Fedora community for last 10 years.
Yeah.
And I would add just one more point to that
Yes.
is the friend aspect, which
Oh,
we
yeah.
put in front. And I think the reason for me being in Fedora for such a long period of time is one of that major factor is friends.
Yes.
So every contributor, every person in Fedora or Fedora community, I think
Yeah.
if we respect each other, that respect factor as a friend, that is the biggest motivation to stay, and especially for the female member or the underrepresented groups. And one of the feedback which I also heard is that when you explicitly mention that this space is safe for everyone from the underrepresented group, whether it is female, whether it is the person with whatever background, how your identity is, she, he, or whatever it is, they are
Yeah.
equally treated. If you mention it in your code of conduct very clearly, it is in itself is more than enough. I mean, that is the point where you start being welcoming it and
Yeah.
explicit about it. So very proud of it that we have these communities existing and to where we all can contribute equally.
Definitely.
With that, I would like to move to the next one. How can attendees take actionable steps to promote who are our audience and everybody in the panel, that what are the actionable steps we can take to promote and advocate for DEI in our own spaces or the projects or the work groups? Like, what are the biggest takeaways for everybody in here? If you can give one top takeaway for our audience. So starting with Shuchi.
Sorry, Amita, you were cutting out a little bit. Let me make sure I heard the question right. You were asking,
Okay.
what are the biggest takeaways
The
for
actionable
promoting
step.
diversity in our open
Which,
source community?
yes, right.
I think Dipisha answered it so well, and Amita, you confirmed, right? Like starting from a place of inclusion, having those code of conducts in place is such a simple, actionable step a community can take to lay the foundation of what behavior is expected, and then modeling the behavior on a regular basis, but also recognizing others who model that behavior and recognizing them for it to create role models and norms and expectations in the communities of how we behave. And then I think in terms of thinking about impact, right? Like where can the communities have the most impact as they're developing code is really, I think, also around accessibility, right? Ensuring that we make our code as inclusive as possible for everyone is something that will be so impactful for so many organizations and the world at large. I mean, if you think about the ripple effects of the potential impact of just doing that, it's incredible.
Absolutely. Huge plus one to that. Benny, would you like to add something in here?
Yeah, the thing that let's say that you are just getting started and just interested in your in how you can impact DEI in a community. The thing you need to start with is educating yourself. There's a book, I was trying to look up the name of the book. I'll find it and I'll drop it in the chat later. There's a book that I read that was kind of aimed at business people and like understanding how different cultures interact around different things. But it has been so critical for me and my understanding, because it's really like that kind of understanding is this book specifically covers like cultural differences about like how people interact with authority figures and how conversations happen from a like, is this disagreement, is this fighting, is this just discussion, and like how people approach each other in each culture. When you're dealing with a global community, you have to understand those sorts of things, right? And so yeah, start with education. Find resources that get you the base level understanding that you need, and if once you start there, the world opens up.
I think the book might be The Culture Map by Erin Mayer.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you.
I highly recommend that, and it has helped me. Also, I just want to echo what Deepisa said. Enforcement of your community COC is very important. But also, as individual contributor, I think it's important you try to map your own values to the COC in place, because often it's not just the text that's in the it sits on COC guideline, right? You need to read and relate, and how does my own value reflect to that, and that can help you understand why this is in place, right? So understanding from your perspective, from your own language, instead of just what being respectful mean for you and your local understanding, instead of just the document, is very important. And if you're building a solution, asking that question, who might not be able to use this solution? Who is it excluding? Not if I'm including anyone, just asking that specific question that might call out certain group that might not be included in that is very helpful. So understanding the different stages, you can ask different questions to make your solution more accessible towards what you were saying, is very important.
Absolutely, Vipul. And that takes me to my next question about code of conduct. How we make sure that we added all the crucial and important elements into our code of conduct, and further, how we can make sure that we are implying it to its full potential. So these are the two parts of question about the code of conduct. Uh, Shuchi, would you like to give your thoughts about it? How it works in the organization structure? I think that is much more professional way in rather than compared to the open source communities, and we can see the difference in a minute.
Sorry, Amita, my computer's giving me some problems, but I think you were asking about the code of conduct.
Code of conduct, two-part
How can
question.
communities?
How we can implement it to its full potential, and what critical elements it should contain. Okay,
I'm so
meanwhile, maybe
sorry. I'm
Benny
having
can pick it up, and then we can come back to Shuchi.
yeah, sorry,
It's
it's
okay, no
cutting out.
problem. Shuchi, we will come back. Yeah, we'll circle back to you. Benny, if you can start.
Sure. Yeah. So the importance of a code of conduct cannot be overstated. It is the place where you define how your community is going to interact with each other. It's the place where you set up and state very clearly the most important things that are going to happen in your community, right? If your code of conduct is mostly about how PRs are reviewed or the timelines that are used or like that kind of stuff, then that's very clearly where your focus is. If your code of conduct is mostly about respecting each other and how interactions will take place and that kind of stuff, that's going to set the tone of your community overall. Is super important.
Deepesha?
I think, like I said, the GNOME Code of Conduct is very, specific about everything. As for enforcing it, I think what we usually do in conferences is we do share the code of conduct usually through email multiple times before the event. But even at the event, we inform people, and we also take a different session with the volunteers where we just, run them by the code of conduct and we tell them how to handle the situation if somebody is uncomfortable. So okay, maintaining privacy, taking them aside, talking to them, making them feel comfortable, telling them that we'll work on it, and we'll make them, whatever it is, we'll take the action, whatever needs to be taken. So I think that's something that really works for us. So yes, I mean, it needs to be specific, but also training people to handle situations if something does happen, and making sure that the action is taken whenever it's needed. So yeah.
That is a very beautiful point and a strong point as well. And I think that takes a lot of energy to keep track of, even if what has been reported, is it legit or not. So going through these reports, issues, and figuring that out, and then being unbiased, and then according to code of conduct, taking an action. I think it takes a lot of energy and thoughtfulness. Vipul, what do you have to say about it?
No, absolutely. The enforcement is the key, and there are a couple of things I would like to call out. Making sure that there is a diverse and local COC contact person, representative, someone who can help understand is very important. So in case you have problem with someone who is in the COC committee, then what happens, right? How do you make sure that you are empowered enough to talk about that as well? Another thing that Fedora has done really well, or Justin, who is a big supporter of these things, is how do you have internal enforcement strategy? Yes, there is a code of conduct and there is all the things of reporting structure, but how do you internally handle it? That's standard operating procedure for all of your COC members to follow. And the last one that I have seen in some places is providing some sort of incentive and extra support to the people in COC committee. It can be very mentally exhausting. If you have gone through some COC tickets, you know what it takes. And how do you make sure that it's more than just here's a person in COC committee? So providing them extra resources so that they can equip themselves, they have better mental capacity to do this, providing them some sort of ease. And that can be from financial help to also you can have this therapy support that we provide because you have been doing such important steps and making sure it's not impacting your personal understanding of things. Or those are very important. So internal understanding of how you see COC, how you're going to provide action to it, but supporting the staff who have been doing it.
That's so important and critical. It's that point stood out for me, that having the support for the group which is supporting and promoting and implementing the code of conduct in the community. It's really very strong and a powerful message. I think the biggest takeaway. Shuchi, can you hear me now clearly? Okay, I think there is some trouble, and with that, I can move to our next question, which is how can leadership and mentorship programs? I'm sure we all have that kind of programs in our community and in our space. They can be better structured to support
Sorry,
underrepresented
Amita.
groups in open source.
Sorry, I think my computer has slowed to a crawl for some reason. It's hard to hear, but I think that no, everybody's given such beautiful answers here. I would only just echo just having that code of conduct and ensuring that we role model, implement the bit, have a way to actually enforce it, right? It's really important. If you don't have a way to enforce community participation or non-participation based on that, then it doesn't really do anything.
That's important, of course. Otherwise, it's just another piece of paper, right? If we are not working towards implementing it or not following that.
There has to be sort of a governance mechanism, and it sounds like there is.
Yeah, exactly. So, do you get any extra financial support, Shuchi, to take care of, like Vipul said? So, Vipul mentioned that the people who are helping to implement this code of conduct, they go through a lot of mental pressure as well, because this is a mentally exhausting job. And he suggests that they should get some extra benefits like therapies or financial. So, do you get that? I'm just joking. You don't have to answer that question. But you can acknowledge the fact that this can be
I say, like,
tough job.
doing this work in DEI, as you mentioned, this is some of the hardest work I've ever done.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I'll repeat my last question. We are moving to the next one. Is how can leadership and mentorship programs be structured to better support DEI or underrepresented groups in open source? How important these structures or these work groups are for mentorship and leadership? Anybody would like to? I don't want to put anybody into support. Now, I think by this time we all are comfortable speaking and we all feel included, right? So please go ahead. Somebody pick it up.
I think it's the same. The answer is kind of the same thing that we've been talking about the whole time, right? You approach it with the same intention that you would anything else you're working on. Look at it with as many eyes and different perspectives as you can, and accept the feedback that you get as important. Whether sometimes we can get in our feelings, right? We make a decision. We're very proud of something that we've put together, and then somebody comes behind you and says, "This doesn't actually feel nice for me. This is a problem for me." And it can take a lot to kind of put your ego aside and and accept that feedback. So it's that kind of stuff. Like whatever feedback you get, and accommodate for it, and then make part of your process reviewing it as you go forward, because we're always learning new things. We're always learning new biases that we didn't realize we had before, even if it's just in the community. Like learn and continue to improve the structure as it exists.
Yeah, just be open to change, as Benny said. Be open to change and understand. I think this is for every aspect of life, but importance has already been enforced many number of times in this conversation. But having a feedback on your feedback mechanism is also very important, and how you're going to adapt to that.
Exactly.
NOM specifically, I think they also have an internship committee. So where we also work on, so we have mentors usually in the internship committee, and we also have a few other people who usually have already done the internship under these mentors in the past. So we have that point of view too. And then, based on whatever discussions happen, if any changes required, we can make changes. So I think that's something that I really like personally in NOM. So yeah.
Amazing. Moving to the next one, and I'm gonna answer that first because I'm very excited looking at that question. It's about, can you share some success stories or example of DEI initiative that had a significant positive impact on your community? So I would start with my personal story that 10 years back, approximately 10 years back, it was my first Fedora flock which I attended. And I was, of course, 10 years younger was much more colorful than these gray and black hair. So first conference, I think almost first time I was facing the stage in crowd. I'm very excited, very colorful dresses and everything. But I could see that a lot of strong-headed engineers, like very formal, very focused to the technology, and I could not blend in properly. But then I found somebody exactly like me. I don't want to name her, but I think she must be present, and she can ping in the chat if she wants me to take her name. Because of her, I felt so confident because I had somebody similar to me as a first time attendee of the flock, very colorful, bright mind, not from very technical background into design and everything. And because of her, I got so a lot of confidence to stay in the community. And that is exactly why later on we started with Fedora Women Day, where we used to invite a lot of women, girls, used to visit the girls' colleges and everything. Because it is so important to showcase that these underrepresented groups are there, they exist in smaller numbers, but at the same time, if you can invite, you can present them out there to support the other people to bring in the community, it helps a lot. So I think the Fedora Women's Day stood out for me specifically as an initiative which I wanted to share with all of you. And with that, Shuchi, if you would like to, or Benny, anybody, I don't need to pick now any name. So please go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, but can I just say one thing?
Yeah, Vipul.
Fedora project is really that example because it has surpassed being a code of conduct file or a policy. It has become a mindset of a lot of community members. And that is the success we wish to see, where it's not about a single document anymore. Everyone lives that and carries with them in everywhere we go and any Fedora things that we do. So that is Fedora is my community, so I can call it out. And that is a very successful example.
Definitely. Came for code and stayed for friends.
I love that.
I came for friends. I came for friends and continue to stay for friends.
Anita, I just want to thank you all for I want to thank you and the rest of the group for having me here today. I've really appreciated the opportunity to learn so much just from listening to all of you about your experiences in the Fedora community. And I hope we can continue these conversations. It's been wonderful to be here. And I unfortunately have to leave and go to another meeting, but I really appreciate the time today and wish you a great rest of the conference.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ruchi, and thank you everybody, because unfortunately this is the time to leave for all of us and move on. But such amazing comments, such amazing inputs, incredible discussion. I think even if we have not covered all of the questions, the gist we have taken with us from this conversation, I think that was commendable. So thank you so much for being part and being so nice panel and bearing with me. Thank you so much. And
Thank
I
you
am
for having
sure,
us.
Thank you,
yeah,
Amita. Thank you for
Yeah,
all
thank you for
this.
making this happen.
I'm
I just
sure we
wanted to
will.
mention one
Yeah,
thing. This is actually my first panel discussion, so I was really nervous for it.
you did
But
a great job.
Great. You did great.
yeah,
Yeah,
but thank you. You all made me feel like really comfortable to speak. So yeah, thank you.
great. Thank you so much. Justin, are you around? And I'm sure we will again cross path with each other
Yes.
For sure.
because we all are at the same space. Justin, how do you think? How did it go?
Well, I thought this was a very amazing panel, and I want to say also thank you to all of our panelists and Amita for also helping moderate. This was definitely a highlight session for me, and it was really great to hear from all of you and have, all of us had some connection to the Linux open source space, well, specifically the Linux space, not just open source broadly, but we've all got some dipping some toes into the Linux space. It was great to hear all these different perspectives from across still different corners of our universe. And I don't know, I really enjoyed that panel, and I really hope that we can continue to do things like this at Week Diversity in the future. So thank you all to our panelists, and thank you, Amita, for being our moderator for today.
Thank you, Justin. Thanks a lot for this opportunity. And I'm so happy that Fedora is continuing doing these amazing things and giving the platform to discuss these crucial issues and very important topics. So thanks a lot. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Talk
you.
to you guys later.
Thanks for
Bye.
having me.
Right. So we'll go ahead and move into our closing remarks for today. We'll wait for our team to come on stage. I think, Yona, you want to try to jump on in here? This has actually been, maybe as we get settled in here, waiting for folks to come on. There was a very interesting challenge this morning with some of getting the event started. And actually, I felt like it was relevant for some of, thinking about, connectivity came up in that conversation, right? And this morning, actually, let's take behind the scenes preview of the headquarters here for Week of Diversity. Our little organizing team That's been a big part. Not our only members of the team, but we've been here running the event. Had some power outages and lost internet this morning, all at the same time, which made for a little bit of an exciting start to the day. But also thinking about like access to connectivity and the kind of opportunities that people, the barriers that are there to actually have access to these kinds of spaces. You know, like you lose power, you lose internet, and you're like, you just have to do the best you can. And I don't know, that was definitely kind of a humbling experience because I know many folks come from places that don't always have reliable connectivity. And that's just, again, like one of the kind of barriers that people face in trying to get involved in open source projects and communities. So despite all of that, we had some really great folks who jumped in last minute to help coordinate and run things smoothly. So thank you for the folks who helped during that little connectivity outage that happened there. But I'm going to go ahead and bring Yona up on the webcam, even though we're in the same room. But I'll go ahead and bring her on up here and we'll close out the day with the closing remarks. So I'll go ahead and share my screen here and we will get started. Here we go. All right. Are you all visible here? I think so. All right. So, Yona, you want to take this one?
Yeah, so basically we wanted to say really a very big thank you to our speakers because we know how important it is like to have great speakers, great content in order to have a great event. So we really appreciate all the talks, the panel discussion that we had. I hope as well, same as we were discussing a bit with Justin and people here, that everyone can bring something after this event. So really great. Thank you. Kudos to all of you for making this event so special. And the organizing team. I will also maybe mention a bit also what they have been working on because it has been like, I think a really great team working on this year for Fedora Week of Diversity. A lot of things on the background happening, but despite like everything, I think we made it. So a very big thank you to Chris for all the interviews that Chris has been working on, which we will mention also later where you can find them, for the video that also he prepared and we showed today during the event, and for all the promo going behind the scenes. Then big thank you to Emma for all this amazing design that you can see around, helping for all the Fedora Week of Diversity images. And I really suggest you to check out also the Instagram stories, the templates that Emma has prepared for that as well. It's like really nice, so big thank you. To Rosalind for all the like promotion happening, for helping with our articles to put up and everything. Big thank you to also Tosin, again for the promotion, for the event production, for the survey, which we will also mention that because it's really important to know how you think Fedora Week of Diversity went, what we did well and so on. So thanks Tosin. Adrian, big thank you for all the automation thing happening for the production for this event, the pools and everything. Then Amita for taking care of all the speakers, the panel discussion. Thanks a lot, Joseph, as well for all the promotion for the event and for putting all the content we have on our socials, especially Mastodon. He's been doing a very great job with that. Nikita for helping, especially with the room icons you can see on Matrix, and for doing it also very quickly. So thank you. Consolation as well for helping us with the promotion and some design things as well. And Justin that I have here as well for being my buddy for the event. And if something didn't go well, I would always go and reach out to Justin. So thanks a lot. It's been a really great teamwork, and I wanted to really emphasize all of them because I think without all the work that you all have done, it wouldn't be possible. So thank you.
I'd like to interject here and also really give a huge thank you to Yona, who has been a huge driver of this event. She has been behind the scenes on everything, working with all these volunteers, helping keep things on track, checking in with all of our different subgroups of people. And there is no way it would have been possible without Yona to help keep us all organized, organizing our meetings, keeping some of the all the secret behind the scenes stuff. So
You just missed Tobias. So.
no, it would not have happened without Yona. So I want to give a very big thanks to Yona as well for being a driver of this.
You're welcome.
So before we wrap up, just a quick look. We talked about some of the interviews that happened on the, during the week with some of our contributors. I'm just sharing a few excerpts here from folks like Nikita and Roland. All these were some of the Instagram stories that Emma also helped compile and put together for our Instagram. So you can also find these stories in a number of places. We have them on the Fedora community blog. We have them on Instagram. There's a couple of other places where you can find these stories as well from our contributors. And not only that, but there are several more of these interviews and stories that you can find as well from a number of people from the community. So if you want to see them all and hear some really amazing stories about what does it mean to people to be involved with this project, and what is it like a day in the life of people who from, again, all different backgrounds and professions and age groups and geographies, people from all over the place. I really love these interviews. And to me, it's a big reminder of why we do what we do. So make sure if you haven't already, catch some of those interviews on the community blog. You can find them all here using the QR code or the link. One more time, because you can never have enough badges involved. So I will put that link into the chat as well so folks can grab it if they have not already. But if you have not grabbed your Fedora badge already, make sure you grab it today and get this limited edition design from our 2024 Week of Diversity. Also important here is that we are doing a survey, which again, kudos to some of our interns to help organize and drive some of the work behind the scenes here. But we really want to hear from you about how you thought the event went today. Maybe without the power outage challenges that we had at the beginning of the event. But if there were other things that you thought worked well, or you feel like could be better for next time, we really want to hear from you about how that could be better. So I'll put the link also for that survey in the chat, but we'd really appreciate it if you take a little bit of time and give us some of your feedback and thoughts about how we can make this event even better for next year. Also a shout out that did come up in the previous panel, but happening right now, the Fedora quality team is running an accessibility test week. So specifically, we have a lot of these test days or test weeks in Fedora where we invite people to actually get involved, try out certain components and share their feedback with us about what's working and what's not. So, it did come up about the screen reader little snaggle that we've had in Fedora 40. But there's a couple of other things that we're looking at for accessibility and improving the state of accessibility in Fedora Linux. So if you're interested to know more about that, or if you'd like to get involved and help test some of these things like screen readers and other accessibility tech in the distribution, we'd love to have you get involved. It is going on now until the June 25th, which if I'm not mistaken is next Wednesday, I think. So there's still some time to get involved and jump into the accessibility test week. Also thinking about kind of what's next and around the corner for Fedora. Very soon now, we're going to have our annual contributor conference, Flock to Fedora. That is going to be in Rochester, New York from the 7th to the 10th of August. We hope that we'll get to see many of you there. If you can't join in person, we are planning to live stream the whole event. So you will be able to catch other content and things happening happening at Flock online as well. So we hope that whether you're joining us in person or you're going to join us from afar, we're really excited and hope you can be a part of Flock in just almost like a month and maybe a week. So it's just around the corner. Related to Flock, we also are doing a mentor summit at Flock, which we did the first time virtually 2 years ago. And last year we moved for the first time as an in-person component of Flock. We're bringing it back this year on the last day of Flock as our closing day at Flock. So there's still room here, whether you'll be there in person or not. If this is something that's interesting to you and you really care about the topic of mentoring and you want to get a little bit of that involved with the event organization side of things, we would love to have you get involved and check it out. This link will take you to a GitLab issue where we are currently planning the Fedora Mentor Summit. And if you're interested, just drop us a note on that GitLab ticket, and we will follow up with you and try to find the best way to help you get involved and contribute to the Mentor Summit. Some closing things. You want to talk about the video and the session recordings a little bit?
Yeah, so basically we put it one more time, but we can put it also on the chat, the video that we showed during the break that we were supposed to put it when it was the opening, but the video that Chris has done. So check it out, and if you recognize any of the languages there, just send us a message, or you can write us on our Matrix channel. And we will publish after the event the session recordings. I know that Adrian will be working on that, and usually he's very fast, so I'm sure we will have it online very soon. So just check out Fedora's YouTube account, and you will have it there.
And just watching the questions in the chat, is the flock schedule coming out soon? Yes, it is coming out very soon. We hope to have that published along with registration towards the end of June. So definitely keep an eye out for the full schedule. It's pretty much done, but we just have a tiny couple things left to iron out before we go live officially. So keep an eye out, more to come soon on the flock schedule as well. So up next from here, we'll have a little bit of a short pause, but then we will transition over to a Codenames social activity. So if you've never played Codenames, this is just we're gonna have some fun together, do some old-fashioned community bonding. You've got some Codenames is a game. It's a social word game with a simple premise and challenging gameplay. It'll be cooperative. You'll have 2 teams. So you'll have to go head to head in a word guessing game. We will be on audio video for this, so we'll have an open room on Big Blue Button for playing the session. If you're interested in hanging out with us and playing a round of Codenames, we will get started in just a little bit. I believe we've got 30 minutes. Is that how long we've? Yeah, we'll do a little 30-minute round after this. So with that, I think that takes us to the end. Thank you all for an amazing event. Again, this is definitely one of my most exciting kind of virtual events that we do, because it's all about our people and the human factor behind our project, which, in a distro community, it's super easy to get very deep down into the technical details. And I mean, that's kind of what we do. We build an operating system and we integrate all these different pieces. But at the same time that we do all this really crazy, amazing, complicated, but really impactful work, we're also this really large global community of friends and people who really enjoy doing what we do with each other. I think that's a big part of what makes our community so special. And it's why I love events like this, because it gives us those very important reminders about who we're going down this journey with together. So one last time, I would like to close out the event and say thank you all for being with us today for Week of Diversity. It's been a lot of fun. And we hope to see you all again soon in all of our normal virtual spaces. Or if this is your first time jumping into the Fedora world, we hope that you'll be involved and get involved with our community and join us. I think with that, folks, we are officially wrapping up for today. We'll have probably like a 5 or 10 minute pause before we get into the social. We'll make it really quick, but keep an eye out for that. We'll coordinate in the Matrix event chat. But otherwise, if you aren't going to hang out for the social, thank you once again for being here. Thank you again to all of our speakers, our volunteers for making this event possible. And we can't wait to see you around in the Fedoraverse. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.